The mobster presidency and the dragon century. How Trump's rule accelerated China's global ascendancy. The image of a U.S. president acting less like a statesman and more like a mob boss once belonged to fiction. Yet under Donald Trump, it became America's political reality. His tenure blurred the line between governance and gangsterism. Loyalty was demanded, dissent punished, and institutions treated like personal assets. The art of the deal morphed into the art of intimidation. While Trump may have promised to make America great again, the irony is that his chaotic leadership accelerated the very decline he sought to reverse, paving the way for China's transformation from regional powerhouse to global hegemon. The rise of the mobster state. Trump's presidency redefined the U.S. political system as a spectacle of power rather than a practice of governance. Like a mob boss, he surrounded himself with loyalists instead of experts, measured success through dominance, and viewed international relations as transactional deals rather than enduring alliances. The traditional pillars of U.S. global influence, diplomacy, soft power, credibility, and strategic alliances, eroded under his reign. By alienating long-standing partners in Europe and Asia, tearing apart trade agreements, and undermining institutions such as NATO and the World Health Organization, Trump weakened the architecture of Western unity that had been the foundation of American supremacy since 1945. While Washington descended into populism and internal division, Beijing quietly filled the void, signing trade pacts, building infrastructure across continents, and offering authoritarian stability as an alternative to Western dysfunction. The dragon's strategic patience. China did not need to confront the U.S. militarily, it merely had to wait. While America was consumed by polarization, conspiracy, and identity politics, China pursued long-term strategies with discipline and patience. The Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, derided by Trump as irrelevant, expanded into over 150 countries, binding Asia, Africa, and parts of Europe into a network of economic dependence. The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB, became a financial counterpart to the IMF. Meanwhile, in technology, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy, China outpaced the U.S. through state-led industrial strategy. Trump's trade war, intended to cripple China, only accelerated its self-sufficiency. Beijing doubled down on domestic production, diversified its supply chains, and invested heavily in digital currencies, laying the groundwork for a post-dollar world. America's waning credibility. By 2035, the United States' global credibility had eroded to levels unseen since the Civil War. Its moral authority was shattered by internal corruption, social decay, and the visible breakdown of democratic norms. Successive leaders inherited a fractured society that had lost faith in institutions. The dollar remained powerful but increasingly contested. Allies such as Japan, Germany, and India recalibrated their strategies toward pragmatic neutrality, aligning where necessary with China's expanding economic order. As the U.S. turned inward, a new global axis emerged: Beijing, Moscow, Tehran, forming a strategic triad counterbalancing Western power. China's influence reached deep into Africa and Latin America, where its infrastructure investments replaced Western aid. The 21st century became the century of silent conquest, not through war, but through contracts, logistics, and technology. The New World Order, 2050 to 2125. By mid-century, the geopolitical landscape had transformed beyond recognition. The multipolar shift, 2050 to 2075. The United States no longer functioned as a unipolar power. China led a vast Eurasian trade empire, with Africa as its industrial hinterland. The European Union, weakened by internal divisions and dependence on Chinese markets, played a secondary diplomatic role. The United States, reduced to an isolationist republic plagued by populism and economic inequality, still wielded military power but lacked moral legitimacy. Technological supremacy and the digital empire, 2075 to 2100. By the late 21st century, China had perfected the fusion of artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and social governance. Its Cyber Silk Road connected billions under a digital surveillance model adopted by dozens of nations. A new kind of empire was born, not territorial, but algorithmic. Western democracies that survived did so by partially imitating China's efficiency model, blurring the line between freedom and control. The end of the dollar age, 2100 to 2125. The collapse of U.S. fiscal credibility and the rise of blockchain-based state currencies, led by China's digital yuan, ended the dollar's century-long dominance. Nations traded through digital ledgers managed by AI, with Beijing's system setting the global standard. The United States remained wealthy, but irrelevant in setting global policy. Its once mighty navy patrolled oceans no longer contested, its influence symbolic rather than real. The long shadow of Trump. Historians of the 22nd century may describe Donald Trump not merely as a controversial leader, but as a historical pivot, the president who hastened the end of the American century. His presidency marked the transformation of U.S. democracy into a theater of personalism and emotional manipulation. By attacking expertise, glorifying ignorance, and normalizing corruption, he weakened the very principles that once made the United States exceptional. Ironically, Trump's America mirrored the systems it claimed to oppose: cults of personality, loyalty over merit, and oligarchic wealth controlling politics. This convergence between Western populism and Eastern authoritarianism blurred the ideological lines of the Cold War era. In the end, it was not China that conquered the West. It was the West that dismantled itself from within. The century ahead, a world without moral anchors. By 2125, humanity may inhabit a world dominated not by nations, but by networks, AI-managed economies, transnational corporations, and digital surveillance systems. In this new order, China's influence will remain, but the cultural spirit of the old world, democracy, humanism, and the rule of law, may survive only in scattered enclaves. Trump's legacy, seen from this distant vantage, will be that of a tragic catalyst, the man who revealed America's moral bankruptcy and exposed the fragility of Western civilization. His mobster demeanor was not an aberration, it was a mirror, a reflection of a society that traded integrity for power, truth for comfort, and leadership for entertainment. And in the vacuum left behind, the dragon rose, not because it was invincible, but because the eagle forgot how to fly.